Chris Maxwell here with the Sports Philanthropy Network. And when people think of Super Bowl week, they're thinking of the athletes walking around and promoting their causes and talking about the big game. But what a lot of people don't realize is there are a lot of independent organizations and people walking around not necessarily affiliated with NFL, but using the platform that the NFL has to advocate for their cause and make a real good change. We see that with Salute to Service, we see that with Crucial Catch. And one of the organizations that are here this week involved with Crucial Catch is the Annietober365 organization. I am so excited to have you here. This is Jodi Eisner. She is the founder and the mom of Annie. Now, I'll let you tell Annie's story, but if you've watched any of the interviews so far, I've made it very clear that childhood cancer is a cause that is near and dear to my heart, and we're going to try to get through this interview without crying. I know. But I am so happy to have you here to talk about Annie's story and what your mission is. So why don't we just jump right into it? Tell us about your beautiful daughter, Annie, and her fight and her battle with childhood cancer.
So Annie was a student at Syracuse University. She was studying PR. This event today is a case study in exactly what she wanted to grow up and do. When she was 17 years old, she woke up on New Year's Day, January 2020. We thought she had the flu, and by the end of the night, they told us they thought she had a blood cancer. And we immediately began treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And everything was really very set. On this date, you're going to have this, then this is going to happen, and everything was set very much in stone until about a month in, when they came to us and said, we think she needs a bone marrow transplant. And then the conversation shifts seismically. We hope, we think, if, and all these words that are very not specific and not very reassuring start coming into the conversation. We were very lucky at that point. My older daughter was a perfect match for Annie, and she had her first bone marrow transplant in July 2020. She was doing great until she relapsed in January 2021, where she had her second bone marrow transplant that May from an anonymous umbilical stem cell donor. And she was doing great, and she began that fall her stint at Syracuse University. And that was where she wanted to be more than anywhere. And even at some point during the year, she had some seizures, she was in a wheelchair, she had to learn to walk again. We lived with her in Syracuse. She was not going to not be there and take advantage of everything that it had to offer her. And the following year, when she was starting school, the Gift of Life Marrow Registry reached out to her and asked her if she would like to be a campus ambassador helping get people swabbed for the bone marrow registry. They didn't even know that she had had transplants. It was through a different connection that they got her name. It was just one of these crazy things. And over the course of the next year, she had 2 swab drives where she swabbed 36 students on the Syracuse campus, from which she's had 4 matches and 1 life-saving transplant, which is just an unbelievable return on that number of swabs. Unfortunately, after her sophomore year, as she was getting ready to go back to school for her junior year, Annie had a very rare post-transplant complication that came on fast and furiously, and we lost her on the morning of August 25th, 2023. And that day, the Dean of Syracuse reached out to us, their office, and asked us if we'd like to have a memorial service on campus. And as we were planning it, we felt that one of the best ways that we could honor Annie was to have a swab drive at that event. And that day we swabbed 93 students, and my husband challenged the students. He named them Annie's Army, and he challenged them to get 4,400 swabs, which I thought was just this pipe dream. Like, I never thought that there was anything we could do, but 44 is a very impactful number at Syracuse. Ernie Davis, who was one of their most famous players, wore number 44. He too died of leukemia at age 23 before he ever played a day of professional football. And coincidentally, Annie was in her battle for 44 months. So it's a very meaningful number. We realize that there's, in doing this, that there's no coincidence. Everything is very purposeful. It happens in the universe for a purpose and a reason. So now we like to say that we've swabbed our first 4,400 students. As of today, we've swabbed over 5,300 students in college campuses, in workplaces filled with young people, at community events. We need people who are between the ages of 18 and 35 to join the bone marrow registry. People get very nervous when they hear swab. We're all scarred from the COVID swabbing. It's nothing like that. Yeah. It is literally filling out your contact information through a QR code and some very basic medical information, because there's a few conditions that rule you out. taking 3 Q-tips, wiping them softly on the inside of your cheek, sealing them up in an envelope, and sending it in where they run your HLA typing to see if you are matching with anybody who is in need of a transplant. You have a less than 1 in 256 chance of ever matching with someone, and a less than 20% chance, if you are that 1 in 256, of ever being asked to donate. So it's a needle in a haystack kind of moment, which is great for you if you're on that side of the equation, but not so great if you're on the other side and you are desperately looking for your match.
And one of the things that we talked about, aside from, talking about Annie and her story, and honestly, I am just so inspired at the fact that she was able to continue fighting for others when she was going through a fight herself, and now you continuing that legacy. But one of the things that we talked about off camera is that there's 75 different blood diseases that a bone marrow transplant can aid in.
Right.
And one of them is another cause that you brought up that's really important to you outside of cancer, and that's sickle cell anemia.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about that and why having these swabs and going to the registry is so important for that disease?
Like you said, 75 different disorders. So, you often hear about it with leukemias, lymphomas, but it's other cancers and other blood disorders. All of the advances in medications, chemotherapy, treatments are great, but if you do that and you put it back into the body of somebody who's producing blood or marrow that is disordered, it's a vicious cycle. It's not going to work, so they need a transplant, and diversity is desperately needed. Right now, if you're white, you have over an 80% chance of finding a match in the registry. If you are black, you have about a 28% chance of finding a match in the registry, and sickle cell anemia affects so many in the black community, and we want to help change those odds in their favor. If you remember the Hispanic community, it's about a 48% chance of finding your match. So we want to reach out to people and let people realize that this is something they can do. We're in a world where we're all very connected digitally and electronically, and we measure our connections like that. But this is the true power of human connection. There's no synthetic replacement for this. It requires one human being helping another human being. We are relying solely on people, their head and their heart connecting and realizing that it's the right thing to do, that it is simple, it's safe, it's free of charge to them. And when you hear transplant, people think maybe a kidney transplant, an organ transplant, they think much more invasive things. In over 90% of the cases, the transplant's done through peripheral stem cells. So you go to a collection center, which basically you sit in like a very comfy Barca lounger with pillows and blankets. They take blood out of your arm for about 4 to 6 hours. It goes into a machine. They take out just the cells they need, and all the other blood products come back into you. You can play Xbox, you can watch videos, you can have snacks, you have a friend with you, and it's just a relaxing day. It's not even an entire day. It's a part of one day out of your life that can literally change and save another human being's life.
Oh, I was one of those struggling college kids that has definitely been in that chair.
Right, you donated plasma. It's exactly that. People do it for $100. So if you would do it for $100, why wouldn't you do it to save a human's life? Something that is incredibly priceless.
It is so easy to do, and that is why Jodi is here at the Super Bowl, because diversity is a huge issue that needs to be addressed in these collections and that age demographic. So you have been so fortunate enough to be connected with the NFL. You have
very lucky.
Your involvement in the Crucial Catch event that is happening, but you also have a few other events in the works. So how is the NFL helping you with this goal of organizing drives?
We have been talking to some people with the Vikings organization. Hopefully we'll get there at a training camp and at a preseason game to do it. Anywhere where there are people 18 to 35, we are ready, willing, and able to get Annie's Army enlisted and there to help us swab. But if anybody wants to do it now, they can go to anniesarmy.com, click the bright pink Request a Swab Kit button. It'll get sent. You can do it from the comfort of your home. If they are in New Orleans right now, tomorrow on the Tulane campus from 9 to 5, there's a swab drive going on. And if you have any group of young people, 18 to 35 is really the sweet spot for the people who are most likely to match and then be used to transplant. So if you work for a company, an organization, an event, we can make it happen. If you go right to anniesarmy.com, you can contact us and we can have a swab drive by the next day.
So I did go to anniesarmy.com and I did click request a swab kit, and you hand delivered it here to me on Radio Row. So I'm going to show everybody how easy it is to take 2 minutes out of your day to get swabbed to help save lives. So let's go get the Q-tips.
Perfect.
Okay, so I started the process. I filled out my form. I went, I scanned the app, I filled out all my information, I joined the registry, and now
It was easy, right?
it was super easy.
5 minutes.
It was like filling out any other application online, and now I get to get swabbed. This is the fun part.
Right, and this is the part where people like hear swab and they think scary. It's really not. If you open up this envelope, there's a package in there with 3 Q-tips. Take 1 Q-tip, wipe it on one cheek for 30 seconds. Then you're going to take the other Q-tip and wipe it on your other cheek for 30 seconds, and then
stick them back in here.
And then you can put them directly in the envelope and seal it up. So if you're running a drive, it's completely safe and sanitary. Just wipe it on the inside of your cheek softly. Yeah. That's it. Nothing. No. It's not up in your brain. It's not anything.
painful at all.
No. It's literally a Q-tip, right? Yeah.
So what else you got going on today?
Exactly. Now you're going to seal it up, and then the third Q-tip, you can pick your favorite cheek and wipe it in there. Just give it a good swish all around. Perfect.
All right,
And now
two, and
pick
now
your
one
favorite, or you can do a little bit on both sides, whatever floats your boat. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And that's it. You are now. You're going to hand me you're going to seal up that envelope. You're going to put that little card inside.
Yep, information. Put it in there.
Seal it up.
And boom.
That's it. Yeah, I'm going to send it back, and you are going to be in the registry. Hopefully, nobody will need it because we'll figure out a way to cure cancer. But if we don't before then, if you should ever HLA match with someone, Gift of Life Marrow Registry will give you a call. At that point, you can decide if it's something that you are ready, willing, and able to pursue. If you are, then Gift of Life will lead you through the process that is really simple and easy, and you have the opportunity now to save a life.
This is the easiest thing you could do to help save a life. Thank you so much, Jodi, for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for continuing Annie's legacy of giving back. I really hope the NFL does everything they can to help you in your mission of getting these swabs, filling up the arsenal of donors, and of course, curing cancer. So thank you so much, Jodi.
Thank you.